As we've seen over the past few years, Volvo has been slowly making their way towards their electrified future. Right now with their plug-in hybrids, mild hybrids, and some EVs, but at one point they want to go full electric. And to begin their dreams of electrification, Volvo has introduced us with the EX models to eventually, sadly, replace the XC models. But finally, we're getting this little guy, the EX30. It's already made a great first impression in Europe and China, so today, let's get up close and personal and learn the ins and outs with Volvo's newest little egg, the EX30. Welcome. So, if you don't know anything about the EX30, it's okay because it's actually very brand new. Unlike the olden days when Volvo is owned by either themselves or Ford, nowadays Volvo is owned by China, a company called Geely. All of these right now have been built in China. For a while though, because of many reasons, these kept getting delays. Not just because of physical hardware issues, but software as well. It's crazy, this modern era of car, you can really have your car crippled by software. However, at least it's finally here now, and they're pretty recently coming to showroom floors. This EX30 sitting next to me does thankfully belong to my friends at my old stomping grounds, Oarsman Volvo VW of Bethesda, Maryland. It's a 2025 EX30 twin motor Ultimate in a relatively new color for Volvo, Vapor Gray. This thing in its top spec as it's sitting right next to me has an MSRP of about $48,000, but this one has some adjustments to it that bring the price to just about $50,000. Now, if $50,000 is still too much if you want an electric car, I do not blame you. But first of all, good luck, because right now Volvo only introduced these things to the US in their twin motor configuration. Soon we will get that single motor rear wheel drive model for about $40,000, but right now you can only choose between the twin motor plus at $46,000 and the twin motor Ultimate at $47,000 like this one. Like I said before, the EX30 is only available at this current moment in its twin motor configuration, so we get the full shebang 422 horsepower. Otherwise, if you want to wait a little bit longer, Volvo will be selling the 260 some odd horsepower rear drive single motor EX30, but I'm not exactly sure when. So we already know that this thing is a weird Volvo because there's no engine under the hood. This one, again, because it's the twin motor, has two electric motors, one in the front and one in the rear. Of course, because this thing is an electric car, we don't need an actual transmission, but it does use a single-speed direct drive gearbox. Those two give it a combined 422 horsepower and an even 400 pound-feet of torque. Very healthy numbers for this 4,100 pound egg to get to 60 miles an hour in just under 3.5 seconds, making it one of the quickest Volvos to date. Underneath the front of this car though, we do have a tiny bit of a frunk. You can put maybe some folders in here if you're a teacher, some sandwiches, but not much else. Those two electric motors are powered by a nice liquid-cooled 69 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, giving this twin motor Ultra an estimated range of about 256 miles. The single motor does do a little bit better than that, but again, we don't have that here. When it comes to charging this thing, there is both good and bad. Now, I'll start with the bad news because I personally expected this car to have the new NACS Tesla style plug, but as you can see, this still uses the CCS plug. I know people keep saying that it's coming in the future, but it feels like any time is the future, so this thing still doesn't have that, but you can use the CCS to NACS adapter, so you can use Tesla charging. If you want to charge this thing with the included toy charger, the level 1 charger, it'll take about 8 hours from about empty to 80%, and realistically that's not that bad. That's just overnight. If you use a level 2 charger, either public charging or if you get a home charger, it'll take about 4 to 6 hours to charge this. And then the advertised rate that everyone mentions with level 3 charging, in under a half hour, they say you can charge this from 10 to 80%. And of course, charging in range will always vary depending on your area. If it's too cold or too hot, this thing will have to either cool down or heat up to start charging. As you can see, this little guy is pretty short, sitting at 166 inches long, making it 8 inches shorter than the XC40. This thing is small! This Ultra model is riding on 19-inch alloy wheels. When considering both EX models, something that I like more about this one is that it has actual door handles. The EX90 has nonsensical electronic door handles that, I don't know, this is just better. The door will always open with this. Even though the EX30 is small, you can still use this as a little SUV. It's more of a hatchback to me though. To get into the trunk, if you have the keys or your phone that's connected to the car or the key card on you, you can do the hands-free function. Otherwise, right on top of the L, there's a handy button here. Power tailgate. Opens rather quickly. This has 14 cubic feet of volume behind the second row seat. Thankfully, there's a really handy underfloor storage area as well that actually is pretty deep and actually useful, unlike the frunk. Thankfully, even though this thing is small, the opening is pretty boxy and square, so you're not losing too much space. If you want to fold that second row seat down, you'll get 32 cubic feet of volume. Volvo also does not recommend towing with the EX30. It is advisable to not tow. As we get into the back of the EX30, well, it's been a little while since I've been in something actually kind of small. You can see it is a little cramped back here. If you're taller than me, you probably wouldn't be too happy, but I'm 5'9", and headroom isn't too bad because I have the pano moonroof, and the driver's seat is certainly in my position, and if I put my legs straight like this, my knees are digging into the back. But if I spread, again, it's pretty comfortable. This is certainly a 4-passenger car more than a 5-passenger. To my surprise, there is not an armrest in the center, but this center console in the front not only is accessible to the front seat passengers, but also I can grab this little tray as well. Of course, these modern cars have to be weird. The window switches are on the back side of the center console for the rear passengers, alongside with 2 USB Type-C ports and a little cubby where you can put your phone. The material quality of the seats is nice and soft back here. I really like that they added some blue on the interior, and it's more of a fabric than anything. I like this. It's comfortable, but it is small. Okay, now welcome to the front seat of the EX30. I didn't close the door. Okay, it's closed now. Now welcome. First of all, if you're used to any of these modern electric cars, the interiors all kind of look the same. It's just a screen. The steering wheel that is sometimes round. Thankfully, there is some stuff in here, but it is more simple than the EX90, I will say that. We don't even have to start this thing. You just hop in. This has a weight sensor in the seat, and you also, as soon as you have either this key card, or if you have this key tag, or you can also use your phone as the key. So it is interesting, all these new age cars, but I don't have to do anything. I just have to put the thing in drive and then go. First of all, you can see the shifter, just like the EX90 is on the column right here. It's easy to get used to if you're used to newer cars. Otherwise, it can be pretty confusing, especially there's no gauges. That's the first thing I guess I'll talk about. The speedometer you can see is up here, just like Tesla's, and I mean, Tesla is the first thing that comes to mind. There's a lot of things that this car reminds me of Tesla with, but that's the first thing. Even just the way how the interface looks remind me of Tesla. First of all, the steering is pretty light. It's effortless. You can adjust how the steering is. I am in normal mode, normal everything mode. We will see how the power is. That's not floored either. I don't want to be doing that just yet. But power is pretty responsive, I will say. Upon first impressions, this thing drives pretty nice. I don't really have anything to complain about. At lower speeds, I do like how effortless the steering is. It really does feel effortless, even like in these little neighborhood roads. It has a nice small size to it. It doesn't feel too big. It is also quite quiet in here, so I appreciate that. I do feel pretty isolated from the road. I know I'm not going too quickly, but soon enough we will. I also have yet to try the one pedal driving as well, but let's see here. Wow. Wow, you really do get up to speed quickly. That's crazy. This does ride quite nice though. I don't really have any major complaints. I like how the steering feels. This doesn't have any necessary sport mode. Let's see how the power is on this straight here. Oof. I mean, yeah, it gets to speed quickly. It's quick. While we're just sitting here, I can talk about the interior a bit. First of all, you can see Volvo's modern 3-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel. It does feel nice to the hands though, and again, turning radius, because this thing is small, is very good. Make sure the coast is clear. It's good. It's strong acceleration. If it had an actual engine, it would be much more of an experience, but this is just good acceleration. There are buttons on the wheel, since no one is around me. Good sounding horn, thankfully, but the buttons on the left side of the wheel control some of the pilot assist functions, as well as some of the things on the very top here. More things that are distracting. And then on the right side, this is a multi-purpose set of buttons. Most of the time, this controls the volume and other audio controls. Other times, it can control the mirrors so you can adjust them. It does a lot of stuff. That's the main thing with a lot of these new cars, and this one is one of them. A lot of the technology in here is more distracting than not. And then I guess that's just because one day they want us to rely on the cars to drive for us, but that's not exactly what I'd like to do. This car offers a good driving experience so far. I've gotten used to the speedometer up here. I don't like it, but it's there. That's where it is, and it's in a reasonably easy spot to see. I find it interesting, just like the EX90, behind this steering wheel on the left side, you have your wiper controls along with your light controls. All the other main controls are buried in the screen. You have to go to the car section, and then you can go to mirrors or do anything else like the headlights and such. Vehicle settings is over here. I can also turn on performance all-wheel drive. We'll turn that on in a second. This, for some reason, has hill descent control, even though I wouldn't dare see any dirt with this thing. Thankfully, you can turn off the stability control as well. Right now, I'll turn on one pedal drive, and it will take me probably a second to get used to it. But around this area in Bethesda, it's not too bad because I'm constantly having to hit the brake, so why not have the car do it for you? I do notice one pedal driving mode isn't as smooth as I would expect it to be. It makes the throttle feel like an on-off switch more than anything. Thankfully, most of the time you're driving this, it feels pretty buttoned down and seamless. I don't notice anything that's bothered me so far. I've seen other people's reviews of how there's been issues with software, like with the infotainment system, and software affecting how the car drives, and also some of the vehicle's hardware itself. Will this Volvo cut me off? This woman cut me off. XC90, she looked over. Let's chase her. On rougher neighborhood roads like this, the EX30 rides pretty well too. While I'm waiting, that gives me time to go into my settings. I'm gonna turn off one pedal drive, but I will turn on performance all-wheel drive mode. I can feel like it bite, you know. Wow, shit! Yeah, performance all-wheel drive mode certainly makes it feel more in tune. It definitely isn't a sporty car, but you know. So we can't deny that this thing certainly has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. It's small, but it is still practical. I'm glad that this small car is more practical than some of the other vehicles that I've seen that are gasoline powered. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our time with the new Volvo EX30. I did enjoy my time with this car. There are certainly some things that need to be addressed to make this thing quote-unquote perfect. I appreciate you watching this video. I hope that this video of the EX30 was informative and interesting to you. Maybe you learned a little bit more about this little Chinese Volvo. But I see I'm just rambling again. Thank you all for liking, commenting, and subscribing for many more videos just like this, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, peeps.